In the turbulent skies of World War II, incredible encounters occurred almost every day. This is one of the more unusual accounts. It was the 3rd of April 1940, a day that would prove to be an exceptional testament to the skill and bravery of the men of 204 Squadron, Royal Air Force. High above the icy, tumultuous waters off the Norwegian coast, a lone Coastal Command Short Sunderland flying boat designated N9046 patrolled the skies. Piloted by the skilled and seasoned Flight Lieutenant Phillips, the aircraft and its crew were guardians of an Allied convoy below. Little did Flight Lieutenant Phillips and his crew know their routine patrol was about to morph into an epic engagement, a confrontation where the cold arithmetic of numbers would be defied, and skill, tactics and the indomitable spirit would carve a narrative of extraordinary bravery. The mission for Flight Lieutenant Phillips and his crew aboard N9046 was fairly straightforward, a convoy escort patrol. Flying at an altitude of 7,000 to 8,000 feet, the crew's eyes, ever vigilant, scanned the horizons. The icy waters of the Norwegian coast, a silent yet potent reminder of the frigid embrace of the North Sea, spread out beneath them 30 miles away. As the Sunderland executed its well-rehearsed defensive patrol, the miraculous unfolded. 2 enemy Junkers 88s, menacing and unwelcomed, made their approach from occupied Norway. The boredom of a long patrol was instantly shattered, and the crew prepared themselves for action. The only thing standing between the enemy and the vital convoy below was a single flying boat. The crew of N9046 were hopelessly outmatched, but nevertheless flew towards the enemy. As the 2 Junkers 88s bore down upon the Sunderland, a rapid transformation occurred aboard N9046. The serene silence of the patrol was replaced by the palpable tension of impending combat. Flight Lieutenant Phillips, with a steady hand and unwavering focus, manoeuvred the aircraft to prepare for engagement. The flying boat, often seen as a gentle giant of the skies, was about to demonstrate its mettle in combat. Quickly, Phillips descended the aircraft to just 50 feet above the water, opening up the throttle until the Sunderland was flying at 140 knots. Although still very vulnerable, this would put N9046 in the best position to repel its attackers. Each member of the crew, well drilled and battle ready, sprung into action. The gunners manned their stations, eyes narrowing to focus on the approaching enemy, fingers poised above triggers. The other crew members, with roles just as crucial, monitored the aircraft's vital systems, ensuring that N9046 would perform at its peak in the face of these adversaries. The Junkers, armed and menacing, approached at 500 feet with the cold precision characteristic of the Luftwaffe. One of the enemy aircraft positioned itself for a tail attack on N9046, while the other prepared to unleash its bombs from above. The Sunderland, however, was not to be underestimated. Flight Lieutenant Phillips, showcasing his exemplary skill, initiated evasive maneuvers. The flying boat, though large, demonstrated agility and responsiveness, attributes honed through the skill of its pilot. At this point, the 2 Ju-88s, which could fly twice as fast as the lumbering Sunderland, were both on N9046's tail. As the first Junkers released its bombs from 800 feet, the Sunderland veered hard to port, each explosion of the enemy's missed attempts reverberating as a testament to the aircraft and pilot's nimbleness. The crew, though shaken, remained undeterred. The rear gunner, Corporal Lilly, eyes fixed on the enemy, held his fire, calculating and waiting for the opportune moment to strike. Meanwhile, the other Junkers, seizing the opportunity, dived towards the Sunderland's tail. The atmosphere aboard N9046 was thick with anticipation. Each crew member, from the steadfast gunners to Flight Lieutenant Phillips, was a symphony of focus and determination. And the flying boat, though pierced by bullets and shaken by near misses, bore the onslaught with an unyielding resilience. After surviving the first attacks, Phillips turned the aircraft through 180 degrees and prepared for the next. Again, the 2 German aircraft utilised the same tactics. One dived on his tail, while the other came in higher for a bomb run. Just as the top Junkers 88 dropped its 100 kilogram bombs for the second time, Phillips kicked the rudder and avoided them again. During both of these attacks, the 2 gunners on board had also been busy. The front gunner, leading aircraftman Frame, who was using tracer in his machine gun at a ratio of 1 to 5, reported hits on the enemy. As the initial confrontation between N9046 and the two Junkers reached its peak, it became clear that the combatants were not alone in the cold clear skies above the Norwegian coast. Having by this time turned south, the crew of N9046 had an unwelcome sight. 4 additional Junkers 88s, like winged predators, converged on the scene, their engines roaring in unison, echoing the ominous escalation of the confrontation. The Sunderland, outnumbered but undeterred, now faced a formidable force of 6 enemy aircraft. In the world of aerial combat, numbers often dictate the outcome. Yet, as history has shown, the indomitable spirit and skill of a dedicated crew can defy the odds. The Junkers 88s joined up together and formed a line astern formation and set themselves up for another attack from 700 feet on the Sunderland's rear. Flight Lieutenant Phillips, with an unyielding grip, maintained control over the Sunderland. The aircraft, though designed for patrol and reconnaissance, was about to face a trial by fire, a true testament to its combat capabilities. The crew, well aware of the escalating threat, tightened their resolve. Every eye was fixed, every hand steady, every breath measured. The 6 Junkers, with the cold precision of seasoned combatants, then initiated a synchronized attack. Despite this escalation, the Sunderland's crew showcased extraordinary poise. Corporal Lilly, the rear gunner, a sentinel of the skies, fixed his gaze upon the approaching enemy. The lead Junkers pressed its attack home to within 150 yards of the Sunderland. It was met with a hail of bullets from Corporal Lilly. After only a very short burst, the Junkers turned sharply to port to escape the bullets. Calmly, Corporal Lilly fired a second burst and immediately saw smoke coming from one of the engines. This aircraft was not seen again during the rest of the fight. But the men had little time to celebrate. The second Junkers was bearing down on the Sunderland already. This aircraft pressed his attack even closer, getting within 100 yards of the rear gunner. After one swift and perfectly aimed burst, the German fell to the sea with one engine aflame. The mood among the attacking aircraft instantly changed. The third German, attacking from behind, turned away without getting closer than 300 yards. Although Corporal Lilly fired another burst, he saw no effect on this aircraft. The 4th and 5th Junkers attacked in the same way, not risking getting as close as their dead comrades. When the 6th German attacked, Flight Lieutenant Phillips' mastery of the Sunderland's controls became evident. Seeing the attacking aircraft positioning itself for a beam attack, the pilot throttled down in order to fly alongside the German. Although Phillips did start to see traces whizzing past his nose, he had also enabled his midship gun to come into action. These were manned by aircraftman Phillips to port and leading aircraftman Dixon to starboard, the latter being the man presented with this juicy target. However, it was a tricky full deflection shot and no visible damage was caused. Shortly after this, the German turned and flew away. During the entire combat, Flight Lieutenant Phillips had bravely flown the huge flying boat on rails, keeping the ship rigidly steady to allow his gunners to get the best possible shots. To help throw the enemy off, he had simply throttled his aircraft up to 170 knots, then closed the throttle again, constantly varying his speed. Clearly, it had been enough. As the echoes of gunfire subsided, and the ominous hum of the Junkers' engines retreated into the distance, the Sunderland, scarred but victorious, sailed through the skies with an air of defiance. The icy waters below, once a potential grave, now gleamed with the reflection of a flying boat and its crew that had defied the odds. N9046 bore the scars of battle. The hull, riddled with bullets, told a silent tale of confrontation, intense and unyielding. The starboard main and port middle tanks were hit, with petrol seeping into the aircraft through the bomb hatch, a chilling reminder of the proximity of disaster. The trim cables had been shot away, as had the jettison cables. Bullets had also narrowly missed the cockpit, leaving holes in the starboard windscreen. Yet, amidst the tangible evidence of conflict, the Sunderland's crew exuded an air of silent triumph. 2 of the crew, Pilot Officer Armistead and Pilot Officer Godwin, bore injuries with stoic resolve. Pilot Officer Godwin, sitting at his navigator's station, had been hit by splinters that went across his eyeball and grazed his scalp. He was incapacitated for a time, but rallied later in the flight. And Pilot Officer Armistead, the observer on this flight, was hit just above the right eye. He would recover to later go on and command his own crew. The intercommunication to the rear turret was also severed, yet despite the lack of chatter on the return leg, the silence spoke volumes of what they had achieved. Corporal Lilly, with just 400 rounds expended from the 2,000 carried, had demonstrated a balance of restraint and aggression that tipped the scales of the confrontation. Each bullet hole in the Sunderland's hull, each damaged instrument, echoed the intensity of the engagement. The crew of N9046 had faced the menacing advance of 6 Junkers, the elite of the Luftwaffe, and had emerged not just survivors, but victors. In the aftermath, as the engine's hum melded with the silence of the skies, the Sunderland and its crew were no longer just patrollers of the icy expanse. They were warriors, forged in the crucible of combat, bearing the scars that told tales of an engagement where skill, bravery, and the indomitable human spirit had triumphed over overwhelming odds. Sunderland N9046 touched down at its Shetlands base, a victor returning from the tumultuous battles in the skies. The icy waters, once a menacing expanse of potential doom, now lapped gently at the hull of the flying boat that had proved itself a formidable combatant. Flight Lieutenant Phillips and his crew disembarked, their faces etched with the fatigue of battle, yet illuminated by the quiet glow of victory. They had ventured into the icy skies as guardians and returned as warriors. Their legacy not defined by the silence of routine patrols, but by the deafening roars of combat against overwhelming odds. Every eye that beheld the returning heroes bore witness to an undeniable truth. The Sunderland, often seen as a docile sentinel of the seas, had proven itself a formidable entity of the skies. On the 12th of April 1940, Flight Lieutenant Phillips and Corporal Lilly's names appeared in the London Gazette. Phillips was awarded the DFC for his role in the engagement, and Lilly was given the DFM. Sadly, both men were lost over Trondheim Fjord 3 months later, on the 21st of July 1940, in N9028. Among the 10 other men lost aboard were leading aircraftsman Dixon and newly promoted Sergeant Frame, the 2 midship gunners who had fought in the engagement on the 3rd of April 1940. No trace was found of this aircraft, and the men's names appear on the memorial at Runnymede. When I came across this story, I found it absolutely fascinating, and if you're in the same boat as me, please give the video a like to help it spread to more people. That way we can spread this story of these amazing men. And if you found this video interesting, why not watch the next one on the screen that I made just for you right now? It's a good one.